Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. Today, we are going to take you on a deep exploration of yourself. Okay, so if you're someone who wants nothing more than to experience success and meaning out of your life, and you know something is missing, there might be one word: perspective. A perspective shift is what we're doing today through 6 questions to help you shift your mindset immediately. It's a process, all right? And we're going to take you through the process. 6 questions. Here we go.
Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
All right, Trisha, we got 6 questions today. You ready for this?
I'm so ready.
So, shifting your mindset. Sometimes this can be like esoteric and woo-woo, and I've got to, do this meditation, or I've got to do this thing, and I don't really know how. We're going to give people a process to it today, a process that I've gone through many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of the book, The Work?
I have not. I'm excited, though, for you to dive into it.
Chelsea, if you could show the book cover, The Work. This book was written by a woman named Byron Katie.
Mm-hmm.
Byron Katie had written this book, I believe, in the mid 2010s. And she is this beautiful blend between psychology and spirituality. Not spirituality in the sense of like religion, but spirituality in the sense of there's a vision that you have that's bigger than just you. In her original book, if you want to pull that first one up, Chelsea. So the first book that she had written, just so everybody knows where this is referenced from, is called Loving What Is. And this came out in 2003, I believe, Loving What Is. And then there was the process that my process, the 6 questions we're going to take everybody through today, is loosely based on. It's not the exact same thing, because I found personally that when we apply it to most of the goals that our members would have at Burn, it would be slightly different, or it could be more contextual because of the person we're talking to.
Mm-hmm.
But Byron Katie's The Work is basically a set of 4 questions. The 4 questions are: is it true? How do you absolutely know it's true? Who would you be if it wasn't true? And give me some, and then it has like this turnaround of like, give me some examples of how this stressful thought in your life is actually the opposite. Or we've talked about cognitive reframing a lot lately on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
This is a practical solution for cognitive reframing.
Mm-hmm.
So it's stuff that we do unconsciously, or at least have the capability to do unconsciously or consciously, but we're doing it all the time. We're reframing these experiences, whether they be stressful experiences or joyful experiences, and we're framing them in some certain way. So today we're going to teach you 6 questions, everybody, so that you can learn to explore yourself deeper. That's what we're here to do. That's what the podcast is all about, is to listen to it, listen to an hour, and take something away that's going to make your life better. We're not just here to talk nutrition and to tell information and share stories. It's also, I want you thinking like, what am I going to take away from today? Hopefully it's this process, a way to shift your mindset in just 6 questions. What do you think about that? You ready for it?
I'm ready. As I was thinking about this podcast today, and if you guys have listened to our podcast, you know that mindset is like, I'm really into it, because I think it's really important for how the stories that you tell yourself are like the number one most important thing that you can do every single day. And I was just talking to producer Chelsea today, like there's a lot of things going on, but like we have to reframe it as, let's tell ourselves the positive story and not the negative story, because you can do both, and it's really easy to go down the negative path. So I'm excited for, Devin's been a mentor of mine for a long time now, and he's helped me become more positive and have a more positive shift in my mindset. So I'm really excited for you guys to be able to hear how he kind of shares his process, and hopefully it'll help you guys have more of an intention on how you approach your day. And again, I like to bring pop culture into the segments. Pop culture is like my thing. It kind of like is a distraction for me, but it's also how I learn and educate myself. And I remembered Reese Witherspoon recently shared, and it might have been a while ago, but I think she reshared it.
Love her, by the way. She's amazing.
She's great, and she has a lot of advice about shifting your mindset. I mean, I don't know her personally, but she comes across as like just a positive person. And she shared this tip or this quote, and she said it was so crazy, easy, and simple, but eye-opening. So we're gonna roll that clip for everybody.
Oh my God, what am I doing? Somebody just asked me the best piece of advice for young people or anybody, honestly, the best piece of advice I ever got. And actually, it's so crazy easy. And I say it to a lot of people, but it's really surprising how hard it is. But the sooner you figure out that other people's opinions of you are none of your business, and it literally doesn't matter what they think of you, you become free. Totally free.
The way that I watched this like probably 20 times in a row when I first came across my feed, because it's like a simple reframe, but it's so powerful. And coming from, I've shared this before, like people's opinions of me matter, right? And they should, but they shouldn't dictate how I think about myself. And so that was important for me to share today. And then I also, Mel Robbins, the Let Them Theory. Devin, do you know about the Let Them Theory?
Yeah, this one is kind of like Mel Robbins is basically saying, hey, if they want to talk all that mess about you, all that stuff, let them. If they want to complain to you, fine. If they want to tell you you're great, good. If they want to tell you you're terrible, great. That type of thing, right? Just like let people have their opinion, and like Reese Witherspoon was suggesting, like don't let that. It's none of your business what other people's opinion of you is.
It's none of your business. And it's all about reframing your mindset. So all of this stuff that you're hearing out in the world, it doesn't matter. What matters is what's in your head. And Devin, you want to take it away on how those 6 questions on what we're going to get into in this podcast?
Yeah, and you've set it up perfectly, because the 6 questions, and I'll go through them first just so that you can have them from like an academic standpoint. But before I do that, what you're really saying is that this whole process, or the work, my questions are inspired by the work by Byron Katie, and what she's really helping us do is explore ourselves. Mm-hmm. She's helping us know ourselves, which has nothing to do with what Reese Witherspoon and Mel Robbins are saying. Like most individuals, most humans are allowing society's opinions to dictate who they are. It's already hard enough being able to have self-awareness. Mm-hmm. We can't, as our leadership team, Trisha, myself, Morgan, the rest of the team, you guys probably know Matt Morris. And then there's some more behind the scenes people that you don't necessarily know, but we all have that same mindset to get better. And how do you get better? Now by listening to what other people's opinion of our business or ourselves are, but our own opinion, which requires then which I think is a common thread throughout this process, is the removal of ego, the identification and removal of ego. So do you want me to get into the 6 questions and just kind of lay it out first?
I think so.
Okay. So these are, again, if you're somebody who journals, if you're somebody who meditates, this isn't prayer. By the way, I'd want to make that distinction. And Byron Katie makes that distinction too, because prayer is more along the lines of the knowing, something that, we could call it faith, but those who are extremely faithful will take that a degree further, and they'll say, I'm not just faithful, this is what I know, mm-hmm. right? I know this religion, or I know this God, or I know this theology. What she's talking about is more about the process of meditation, not in the sense of like, I sit with my legs crossed and my hands, on my knees, and like we're not talking about that traditional type of meditation. We're talking about deep curiosity, mm-hmm. just thinking. We'll call it like conscious curiosity, to the point where you could even close your eyes. You could take out a piece of paper, which I prefer to do, especially when you're getting started with this process, especially when you're getting started with this work. You want to write it down. Over time, then you will get actually so good at it. Like any skill, you're not going to be very good at it at first. This isn't a magic bullet. This is just the 6 questions. You start practicing this way of thinking. That's really what it is, a way of thinking to get you away from stressful thoughts and more towards joyful thoughts, to live a life on your terms, like Reese Witherspoon said, not on other people's terms. And eventually, once you kind of graduate from writing it down on a piece of paper, it becomes this mental process. So when I first started doing this work, and gosh, I mean, for those of you that know my background, I had a lot of work to do, coming from a chaotic household where my kids are 9, 7, and 5, and they still can't understand like how it was possible for my father to have 3 baby mamas and my dad to have 2 baby daddies, and how all that works together, like less like a family tree, more like a burning bush. And they're still trying to get it. And Cameron's like, wait a second, hold on, what? Right? So there's a lot to work out there under the hood, and especially when you sprinkle a dash of alcoholism and drug abuse and jail stints and, parental abduction and all these other situations that I had to deal with. I had this web of just tangled psychology, philosophy that I knew early on, like I was screwed up mentally. I really had to work it out. And I really had to identify, like I had to pick out and identify what was my personality versus what was a falsehood of my personality that maybe other people installed, or maybe some byproduct of having to cope with a abusive childhood. So I've done a lot of this work, and I will tell you, start with paper. And then as you get really good at it, I'm talking like 20, 25, 30, 35 times of seeing it on paper, you'll memorize these questions, and then that memory will just become habitual. And then that habit, once you practice the habit of memory and rehearsal, it's just a mental rehearsal process, guys. It's mental rehearsal. It's working out things in your head and being able to end up with a vision of yourself that's more powerful and greater than it would be otherwise if you just didn't have one. If you just let your default network, the place that your brain and your ego want to go, if you just let that happen, you will go to a place of suffering. You have to actually choose happiness. You have to choose fulfillment, choose meaning, choose joy. And so that is my advice to you as you go through this process. Okay. And maybe Trisha, you can kind of go through it real time with us. If you have any examples that come to mind, I'll definitely share some examples because it will help bring this to life. So stay with us as we go through these 6 questions. This is any stressful thought, put it that way. Any thought that you're thinking that you don't want to think, or it isn't aligned with who you ultimately want to be. These 6 questions are inspired by the work of Katie Byron, and it's a cognitive reframing protocol in a practice we call in psychology called cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. All right. Number 1, who do you want to become? Number 2, who or what's stopping you? Number 3, is that even true? Is that even true? Number 4, who would you be if you changed? Number 5, who would you be if you didn't change? And then finally, social proof. What's 1 or 3 things that you can commit to right now? All right, so these 6 questions, when you take any stressful thought and you put them through this filter, what ends up happening, Katie Byron calls it the turnaround. What ends up happening is that stressful thought that you entered into this kind of assembly line of protocol, of questioning, of curiosity. What happens is you come out the end of it actually with not only a cognitive reframing, but a complete reappraisal of that stressful thought, and it now becomes that flip on that stressful thought. So if I say something like, man, I really have to become, like, I have this stressful thought of like needing to be the perfect leader. I want to become the best leader that I possibly can. And then you go to like, well, what's stopping you? Well, gosh, what's stopping me from that? This is where the deep work happens. Okay, well, what's stopping me from becoming the leader, the perfect leader? Well, I keep hearing perfection in itself is an unattainable goal. So maybe the idea of perfection is stopping me. And man, I don't feel good very many days because I drink alcohol too much. And so maybe alcohol is causing lack of energy, which is stopping me from being a great leader. Is that even true? Like, is this idea of perfection? Is this idea of alcoholism? Is this idea of needing to show up and be perfect for everybody? Is this even true? Like, okay, yeah, no, definitely the alcohol part is, but like, man, this perfection thing, I keep going back and forth. Like, perfectionism, how can I be perfect? Is it even possible to be perfect? Who would I be if I didn't have that thought? If I didn't have the thought of perfection? Well, shoot, I'd probably stop attaining perfection. I'd probably feel a little bit more relaxed. I'd probably feel less stressful in my own skin. I'd probably feel better as just being myself. And who would I be if I didn't change this idea of perfectionism? Well, if I don't change the idea of perfectionism, well, I'll keep being tighter and tighter and tighter to the point where I micromanage people. And if I want to attract high-level talent in my organization, well, then micromanaging people, successful people don't want to be micromanaged. So if I don't change this behavior, I'm not only going to have more on my plate that becomes more stressful, I'm going to have less qualified, less talented people around me. Man, so what's 1 to 3 things that I could change right now to have less of this perfectionism mindset? What's 1 to 3 things that I could change? Well, I got to sit here and I got to think about it. Okay, well, maybe I can stop saying so many statements, and maybe I can start asking more questions. Instead of solving people's problems every time they have an issue, because I'll condition them to come to me all the time, maybe I can just ask them good questions. That's a simple thing that I can commit to right now, to be less perfect as a leader, because I know if I continue to try to be perfect, perfection is unattainable. I'm just going to continue to develop habits of micromanaging people, which is going to push talented people away, which is going to make more of a heavier plate for me. And so I need to commit to this one thing right now. So that's essentially, Trish, how this works. It's a exercise in which you're going through. It's a little different than what the work is by Byron Katie. It's a little bit more contextual. There's 6 steps to my methodology rather than 4. But in essence, it's exactly the same. Who do you want to become? What's stopping you? Is that even true? Who would you be if you changed? Who would you be if you don't change? So therefore, with question 4 and 5, who would I be if I changed? I know what I want. Who would I be if I don't change? I know what I don't want. That way I know where I'm going and what I'm running from. And what's 1 to 3 things that I can commit to that are simple right this moment. So that's the framework pretty quickly in a snapshot.
Of the 6, which one do you think, I have my opinion, but which one do you think is the hardest question for people to be able to answer?
Have you gone through this at all by yourself? Maybe not in this particular framework, but I know that you've done some cognitive reframing to this of a sort, yeah?
Yeah, and I think I can answer the question first. The is it even true is an eye-opening one, because again, going back to the stories that you tell yourself and the lies that you tell yourself, that to me is like it could be a trigger for some people too. So that to me is the one that kind of sticks out. And then who would you be if you changed is a tough pill to swallow, because you then can see behind the curtain of like, you know, if I stopped drinking so much, who would I be? Would I be a better mom? Would I be a better XYZ? So to me, it's like probably those 3 and 4.
Yeah, so like let's use the alcohol example and we'll go through one more example. This one's near and dear to my heart. April 21st, 2025, I set the bottle down for good. I wasn't an alcoholic, but I was doing things that had the tendency of the exact opposite of my goals, which, you know, I love and appreciate my father mostly for the things that he showed me how not to raise a family. And ultimately, alcoholism and drug abuse took his life in his 50s. And so this was probably the most recent, most profound change that I made in my life using this framework. So I can go through that. And then what we'll do is we'll pull up and we'll examine, you and I together, we'll examine each one of these steps and why it's important. So if I ask myself, you know, who do you want to become? Man, to me, to answer your question, that's the most important one. Because once you identify a vision for yourself, now you can be defined by something that is enticing, enchanting, empowering about your future. And if you don't have that, guess what automatically happens by default? We start defining ourselves by the memories of the past. Yeah. And what do people do if they don't have a vision of the future? What do? This is how it's always been for me. This is who I am because this is how it's always been. And we don't have the opportunity to actually start the process in the first place. So who do you want to become? Who do you want to become? For me, it was someone who broke the chain. That was always very empowering to me. To, the first one to go to school, to graduate from college, to start a business, to be a millionaire, to take care of my family, to leave a legacy, down as far as like to be off food stamps. Like it's kind of started there. My family, for generations that I can see, always had government assistance. To be the first man in my family to have a faithful relationship. To be the first man in my family that I can see to not go to jail. But who do I want to become? Breaking the chain. If I actually ask myself the second question, what's stopping you? Alcohol was stopping me. And I asked myself this question, is that even true? Is it even true? Is alcohol stopping you? Which is a great examination question. Because most of us, in this circumstance, my answer is going to be yes. But most times, if you go through this, what's stopping you from getting to where you want to go? People are setting their goals way too low. And what's stopping you isn't even true. That thing you think that you perceive as stopping you is not even true. In this case, because I had done this work over and over and over with every little stressful thought in my life, I kind of knew that was the thing that was in my way. Is this even true? Yes, it's true. Because you can't be the person who breaks the chain when your two sons and your daughter are watching you drink alcohol, the same alcohol that buried the rest of your family for generations. Is it even true? Yeah, it's true. Because you can't break the chain unless you give this one poison up. And is it making your life better? It's not making your life better. Who would you be if you changed it? Well, I'd be more clear-headed. I'd have more energy. I'd hit my workouts harder with a different type of rigor. I'd have a better body. That better energy would give me more ability to be a dad. It would to be an entrepreneur, to be a leader. Most importantly, this is the answer to your question, Trish. The second most important question to me in this process is, who will you be if you don't change? This projection of pain, what you're doing, and this is where people do not want to look in the mirror, my friend. So I'm telling you, you go through this process, it is very uncomfortable. You're not going to like it. You're going to be forced, especially on question 5, to stare at yourself in the mirror and say, who will this person be if I don't change the malicious behavior that I am exuding right now in this moment? If I project this 3, 5, 10 years, who do I actually become? Well, the answer for me, which is the most scary answer that I could perceive of, I become a reincarnation of my father. And doing all the things in 10 years when he was 47, that in the prime of my childhood, that I was like, no, dude, that's not it. That's not how we're going to roll. So the very thing that I spent my entire 37 years trying to avoid was creeping up on me because of this one thing. And if I did not project that pain out into the future, I wouldn't have the motivation to change it, because I'll tell you again, there is literally no difference. Chelsea, look up the piano study. It's the piano study for, I would say, memory versus reality. Look up piano study, memory versus reality in ChatGPT. And tell me what comes up. It'll give you the study. It was a Harvard study, by the way. It says it doesn't matter biochemically whether you think about something or you actually experience something. Your biochemistry knows no different. Okay? It doesn't know a difference between what you think and what actually happens. Okay? Pull up this window. Make it a little bit bigger for me if you don't mind. Okay, so the Harvard study, basically what it did is it studied a subgroup of people who just thought about playing the piano, the keys, the chords, and the rhythm, versus people who actually played the piano. And they found that in this study and many after, that the brain has this illusionary property, right? That the mental image of performing something is exactly the same biochemically as the actual performance of it. What does this say here, Chelsea? Anything relevant?
Not
It's
specifically.
just look up
about
the Harvard
study.
study. You should say the Harvard study. Okay, and we can come back to that a little bit later. But the last piece to this is the social proof element. What is the 1 to 3 things that you can commit to right now? That you can commit to right now is the key of that. What are 1 to 3 things you can commit to right now? This is where Burn Boot Camp small wins come into place. And for me, the one thing that I could commit to right now was just not drinking tomorrow. And that's how it started. And I didn't go into it with quitting forever. Then it started becoming part of my personality. So hopefully that answers your question, gives a little bit of context into breaking this down, because we can break this down even more. And I know that you have a ton of interest in topics like this and curiosity around it, given that you are real time, and especially in the last 3, 4, 5 years, Trish, been really, diving into the work, and, you haven't had it easy as well. And I think both you and I being here as people who have had to overcome, we're great representations of all of you out there who have your own mountain to climb, who, no matter whether, there's people that have had much worse situations than me, right? Much worse situations than Trish and you, and probably all 3 of us combined. But that doesn't mean that your mountain is any less steep than anybody else's, because it's all in the frame of reference of your life's experience. And sometimes smaller things to somebody who has had to overcome a lot is just the beginning of someone else's journey trying to overcome something very small that you haven't had to overcome a lot yet. So it's a big mountain.
Yeah, I think it goes back to putting in the reps, because like Devin said, I have been working on this. And I think a good example of what I've been working on personally is I would get really defensive, really, really, really fast over things. And kind of digging into the why behind it. And it took for people to call it out in me. Like, why are you jumping to being defensive and being combative over these topics? Like, I'm seeing this pattern. And I was thankful. And it really was Devin and I having this conversation of why is that happening and what is the trigger? And I had to dig down deep into what happened to me as a child and, kind of uncover what that looked like for me to then start going through these questions in my own way. It wasn't these exact questions, but I mean, it's been probably I would say almost 2 years that I've been really focused on this. And it wasn't until recently where I've actually approached conversations, and I actually just got a compliment from someone yesterday, a franchise partner, because I was having a tough conversation with somebody, and I got a text afterwards, and he basically just said, your courage and leadership in that moment was I'm proud of you. And so to me, it was I finally come to this realization. Again, I'm not perfect, but I now can see it in myself, and I can pause, and I don't have to jump and protect myself. I can just see things for what they are. I'm okay saying, yeah, that's on me. I got that. I'm going to fix that. And then have a tough conversation about, maybe steps to improve. But again, it wasn't immediate, and it can be frustrating, because there was time and time again, I would leave a meeting and I'm like, dang, I got frustrated really fast, or I was combative in that meeting and I didn't mean to be. That's not who I am, and that's not how I want to show up. So I think my biggest advice is this isn't going to be something that you see overnight. It does take time. Like Devin said, I mean, reps on reps on reps. You just can't give up and say, oh, this is who I'm going to be. I'm just a defensive, combative person. No, I know I'm not. I know to my core that's not who I am. And it's finally now shining through.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And the also an example of self-awareness, because you had set your ego to the side, and you had said, hey, there are people who are making this observation who I trust about my personality traits that I have. Well, maybe I should actually listen to them and I shouldn't take what they have and throw it and kind of throw it away, which is such a hard thing to know yourself, because to come to that conclusion yourself is almost like you need like Carl Jung's like shadow self, where you have this other version of you sitting in a room at all times and it's like observing you. And that's, that takes a lot of, I think, practice and awareness and slowing down of the game, the situations, to actually have that version of yourself who you can talk to. So it has to come a lot of times from other people. But the hard part about it is like, well, you just got done saying like, don't worry about what other people say. It's none of their business what your personality is. But those are from people who don't know you, that don't want the best for you. That's what Reese Witherspoon is saying. And what Trisha's saying is, oh, no, I get that. So from her perspective, she's sitting there, she's doing a movie. It comes out on Rotten Tomatoes. She thinks it's the best work of her life. It comes out on Rotten Tomatoes and gets like, a subpar rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And she's like, whatever, I don't care. I felt it has nothing to do with their version of me. I felt like this was my best art that I've ever created. Therefore it is. And Sweet Home Alabama was, my top of my top. I'm not going to be able to beat Sweet Home Alabama. So then why they're all comparing me to that? That's fine. You can go do that. But I'm over here being the Reese Witherspoon of today that is proud of this art that I'm putting forward. But there's 3 or 4 people in her life that she's going to take critical feedback from on that performance to make herself better, that she really trusts. And that's what you're saying. It's not listening to the masses and, everyone who's listening to the podcast, DMing in or whatever and saying blah, 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 this, that, and the other thing. It's the 3 or 4 people that actually know you. Right? That you trust, that have your best interest in mind, and they can help you. And that's, in an essence, part of setting the ego down and saying, I will allow help to come into my life. Was that hard for you to allow help to come into your life at any point? And explain why, or why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit like embarrassing, right? I think to have those conversations, because especially if you're someone who, I'm very competitive, I want to excel at everything right away. And you're also almost like this imposter syndrome at first. At least I have it when I'm like stepping into something new, because you have to like pretend like you know what you're doing. And so I think I had tried to build up so much confidence in who I wanted to be and how I wanted to show up, that when I realized that that's actually not the person that I want to show up as, and I was appreciative of, having those hard conversations of, this isn't coming across the way that I know you are down deep inside. Like, you're not this person. Like, why is this triggering you to react this way? And I don't need to show up that way. Like, just because I don't need to be a bully to show up with confidence, I can still show up with kindness. And that's at the core who I am. For whatever reason, I just feel like I'm going to get emotional, because it is important to me, and it's important for me to show up authentically. And so, yes, I think it's a little bit of embarrassing, because I think it is your ego, right? Everyone has this idea of their ego, and when someone like calls you out for something, you're like, dang it, like, and especially when they're right, because when you hear something about yourself, there's some things I'm like, no, that's whatever, I don't care. Like, if they're critiquing my body, whatever it is, like, I'll throw that to the side. But when it's something deep down inside that you're like, yeah, they're calling me out for something that I know is not me.
Yeah, and you know that too, don't you?
Yeah.
Right? And the ego wants nothing more than for you to stay comfortable.
Yeah.
It wants to be in control, and control is comfort to the ego. And so being around alpha baseball players my whole life, this one was really hard for me to let help in, to like actually realize that I need help. Because even since I was a little kid, 10, 11, 12 years old, after you start, kind of not getting life, but like you start to become aware, and you remember all those times from when you were those ages. You're 5, 6, 7, 8, like, okay, you might remember some things here and there, but it all just seems normal. You start to get 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. It's like, wait a second, maybe this isn't normal, because I see like Tyler and his family like this way, and wait, we're over here doing this. That ain't right. That's different. Oh man, the police are showing up quite often at my house. That can't be right, because they don't show up at any other of the houses around me. So you start becoming this person who is observant. And when I when I made the realization that I didn't have help in my household, well, then I gained this attitude and this posture that was like, I can't take help from anyone. Help is bad. If I take help, that means I'm being vulnerable. If I'm being vulnerable, that means I'm being exposed. If I am exposed, that means I'm physically abused, and I'm sick of that, right? And so you kind of shut off this door to other people helping you. And it took me a very long time. It actually, and I didn't realize this until several years after I got released from baseball, but it's competition can be a very negative thing for people. A lot of people, competition against other people can be very, like, they say comparison is the thief of joy. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. There's some misguided truth in that as well, because it's inevitable to compare yourself hierarchically to other people in society. So like, to some extent you have to lean into it, but that's like you can lean into it by leaning into it through yourself and comparing you to who you were yesterday, the Michael Jordan vibe, right? I only show up, I wouldn't become the greatest in the world if I showed up and competed with other teams. I became the greatest in the world because I show up and I compete with myself every single time I'm on the hardwood floor. Why can I go out and score 45 points and blow this team out? Because I don't play to the level of the competition. I play to the level of my last game. And so I wouldn't accept help for a very long time. And when I realized post baseball that my whole life, it was about me versus other people. And I didn't really get it was me versus me until, and this is a pretty recent realization in the last 5 years, until Burn Bootcamp started doing really well and was at the top. And then I wasn't so motivated anymore about, crushing competitors or being at the top, or it never was about that. But I had this hangover mindset from baseball that was like, hey, I've got to beat the person next to me in order to get this spot or this position. And that's what college and professional baseball was all about. I've got to beat this person next to me in order to get this spot. And then it became, wait a second, what spot do you want now? Like, you've done everything that you set out to do. What's going to keep you motivated? Well, it's the comparison of myself versus me. So who do I want to become really has shifted. It's shifted. Do you know the answer to that question? Let's go. What we'll do now, everyone, and feel free as you're going through this podcast and listening with us today. Like I said, I want you to have a takeaway. I want you to be able to go through these questions and these steps with us. This isn't something where you just show up and you passively listen and you wonder where the hell an hour went an hour later. I want you to be a better human being, to have a conversation with us, with Trisha, with I, and yourself in your head. Go through this process with us. We're going to kind of go through it ourselves and stop along each point and have a conversation about it. But now I'm to the point, and I'll bring you up to speed real time, where the question, who do you want to become? It's a hard thing for me to answer. It's becoming harder and harder. So first principle of question number one, who do you want to become? It should be simple, but it also should take some real thought.
Yeah.
The work is not about, hey, I have this hack, these easy 6 questions that I'm going to know the answer to, and all my problems are going to be solved tomorrow. No, this is just a process that allows you to have a tool so that you can reframe cognitively your misguided belief systems, or AKA the thoughts that you think and that you buy into. This is a way for you to become in charge of those thoughts, to be on purpose and with intention about those thoughts, and give you some guided help. So, who do you want to become? What characteristics, personality traits, what reputation do you want to have is a good way of answering this question. Does anything come to mind for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was just going to say, like, right now, I felt myself having to, I'm trying to juggle, back to school and kids' sports and work and friends and all, being a good wife and making dinner every night and making sure my kids, like, there's all these things, and I was just feeling this overwhelmed. And so I think for me, who I want to become right now is really, it's a balance of, I know that I cannot be, and maybe this is when we go, is that even true? But like, how do you be like the best mom? How do you be an excellent leader for my team and for, the whole office and franchise partners and our members? And then how do you also get in your workouts and then also show up to your kids' practices and games and bring them to school and make them dinner. And I just feel like the list, I know that I want to become, at the end of the day, the best mom is always going to be my number one. And then from there, I think everything else like ladders up into that. And I'm having a hard time trying to figure out how I have friends because it's hard to make everything work. And so that's right now where I'm like, I have this mental, I'm like, am I a bad friend? Is that who I am? I don't want to become that, but am I a bad friend?
So the next question then, what is stopping you? Really is the answer to that would be that what's stopping me is the thought that I might be a bad friend. Because it sounds like you're doing all the other things pretty well, but you have this one area to become it, to do it all, right? So you have this belief system. Who do I want to become? I want to become the mom who puts my family and my children first, and I want to be able to do it all. So you have the belief system that I can, right? Because you don't say, I could never do it all.
Yeah.
Because then you'd have to have a different definition of who you want to become. So the belief system you have is, I can do it all. I haven't quite figured out how to do it all. I've done it all in all these areas, except for what's stopping me is this friend thing. This friend thing. So what's stopping you? Elaborate on the friend thing.
Well, I think so. I have a friend that has been wanting to get dinner with, like we want to do a date night, like a double date night. And I keep just having these excuses because I'm laughing because I know it's an excuse, but I am also somewhat of an introvert. And I like to just be so whenever I have a second where we don't have a game or whatever, I want to just be home. So I've been prioritizing any free day that I have. I could go on this double date and we could make it happen. Or I could stay home and we could sit on the couch, Julian and I, and like watch a movie and be happy as can be at home. And so I felt guilty that I was prioritizing that over trying to be a friend.
Okay.
I don't know if that.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So what's stopping you is one of two things. It's either the honesty in the friendship to be able to say, hey, actually, my version of friendship with you isn't going out and having this type of experience and interaction, because that's actually not empowering for me in my life. What's actually empowering and what would be my ideal friendship with you is whatever that might be. Maybe sitting and watching a movie, maybe just chilling at the house. Maybe there's a stress that the ego is putting on you because you feel like you have to show up as the ego to impress this person, rather than just being honest with them and saying, hey, here's what my friendship with you actually looks like, how I would define it. What do you think? So it's either that, or that is the ideal time, that is the ideal experience, the ideal a set of activity that you'd like to do with this person. And what's literally stopping you is just scheduling it. So you see how we kind of go into step 3?
Yeah.
So is this even true? Is it actually stopping you? What is true about that? Is it even true? What do you think?
I think you're right. I think I don't want to have to like put on a performance and like go to dinner. I do just want to like be myself. So you hit the nail on the head of, it's the whole fact of doing something like performing at a restaurant and like getting all dressed up when I just want to chill. That's all that I want to do. And so, yeah, if I wanted to hang out, I could hang out with this person, but I just want to be myself in my own home.
So who would you be if you changed this behavior? If you were now the person that with every meaningful relationship in your life, you just said what would mean the most to you, to them, honestly, with no hesitation on how they might make you feel or how they might take that. Who would you be if you changed that behavior?
That's I would be more authentic. I guess I wouldn't have to show up as someone different, which is exhausting. So I would just be more authentic.
And when you're more authentic and it's less exhausting, and your end goal is to be the mom who can do it all, now do you see a world in which your friendships can fit into that do it all, be it all philosophy, if you're never having to do friendship-oriented tasks that are exhausting to you, taking away your energy, which ultimately energy is the key component to being able to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
See how I'm making that connection?
Yeah.
So who would you be if you changed? You'd be a person that would have more energy
Mm-hmm.
because you'd have less exhausting experiences,
Yeah.
less performances,
Yeah.
less stepping into a mask and having to do the song and dance for people, and more of finding yourself, because at the end of the day, you don't want to go do the song and dance anyway.
Yeah.
You're kicking and screaming the whole time to Julian. You're like, dude, I really I love this person to death, but like, I got to go do another dinner. Like, I'm just exhausted. I don't want to do this. It's going to take, and now
Yeah.
kids are at home. Julian's at home. You're not happy. They're not happy. Friends aren't going to be happy. Who do you become if you change that habit of being directly honest with the people in your life? This is who I am and this is what I want. Who would you become?
Well, yeah, it's a great question because I mean, I would show up because you're 100% right. Like Julian and I have gotten into a fight about it because he knows that like I'm battling this and he's like, just don't do it then. Like, just do something that you want to do. And I, for whatever reason, like also I'm a people pleaser. I'm like, but she wants to go to dinner and I don't want to go to dinner. But if I actually could say and just be honest with my friend, then it would make me who I want to be at the very beginning when I said who I want to become, because I would be a calmer mom because I wouldn't be frustrated on that I can't please her in this moment because it's just not serving me.
Who would you be if you don't change? Project that out 5 years, 10 years. If you continue to be the person that against their own will, I'm just going to use the word, put on performances for other people to please them. Who do you become if you don't change the habit of honesty with the people that are closest to you?
I'm not living my most authentic life. I'm someone I'm not. I'm not actually to my core.
And can you be the best mom ever that does it all if you don't live in alignment with your core values?
No.
This is the work.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you basically are going through this process. You are stating the stressful thoughts in your life and you're putting them to the test through this series of questions. And the last one, and this is where the rubber hits the road, this is where the small wins come in at Burn Boot Camp. It's like, what's the 1 to 3 things that you can do right now just to make this commitment? Like, what can you do?
Mm-hmm.
So this friend, this person, you know what, is probably honest. Like, do you sincerely, this person you're speaking of, do you sincerely value the relationship?
Yes.
Are you sincerely friends?
Yes.
They probably don't want to masquerade out with you either.
Yeah.
They probably think that that's just as big of a performance as you're putting on.
Mm-hmm.
So what's 1 to 3 things that you could do to make everyone's life better?
Instead of having an excuse for why I can't hang out,
Yes.
I can say, how about you guys just come over to our house and we hang out on the couch?
That's one way.
It's like so easy.
Or like, instead of dinner, how about this? You know, I'm like less of a dinner person nowadays.
Let's go play pickleball.
Yeah, let's go do something active. Let's,
Yeah.
you know, you got the boys or whatever, like come over, let's let them shoot hoops and we'll stand in the driveway and talk for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, and finding a way, because listen to what this stressful thought is manifesting itself. This one thing that we picked out with a very simple commitment level from you can go do 1 or 3 things that not only makes this relationship with a person that you care about very dearly in your life, makes it way better, but also simultaneously allows you to become the person who you want to be in the first place.
Yeah.
Which is someone who can do it. So you're one conversation away from being able to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, dang, Trish, you're doing it all. You're doing it all. And there'll be another mountain to climb after that.
Yeah.
But the work, it matters. It matters more potently sometimes at different points in your life. But every time you go through this process, every time you have a stressful thought, this is the process that I want you guys to adapt to. If you don't have any other tools, if you don't have another process that already works for you, this process has worked for me wonders in my life. And I feel now that I can do it so quickly in my head, it's not a 6-step process. It's now just a way of thinking. Yeah. This way of thinking becomes a personality trait of you once you do it long enough. And you're constantly looking for, where is the ego telling me who I am? Who do I really want to be? What's the separation of those things? How is the ego trying to stop me? Is the ego telling me lies, or am I actually listening to myself, and is it true? Who would I be if I change this behavior? Who would I be if I don't change this behavior? And what's one thing I can do right now that's very simple that can actually reinforce and create this stressful thought and take it away from me and making it an empowering thought? Byron Katie calls that the turnaround. So you have one stressful thought, which is I can't do it all and be the best mom ever because I can't be a good friend. And then out the back, it's like, no, actually, all I have to do is make a 30-second phone call, and this stressful thought goes away forever.
It is amazing how, like, when I was talking about this example, I'm like, it's not really like that big of it, but it actually does impact. It's like you would be surprised as you go through this. You're like, I actually already feel a sense of relief. It's that easy.
Yeah.
You just have to like hit it in the head.
And the prerequisite to this is you have to believe that there is room for improvement. Like, I can do this. Like, I have the ability to do this process. I want to do this, and I believe that it's good for me when I do it. And if you keep these 6 questions in your back pocket, guys, I'm telling you, it's a complete game changer to practice it, to rehearse it, to spend time with it. Okay? When you're just looking at that example we go through, where do you think people get stuck the most? Where do you think somebody would get stuck the most in this? And let's kind of go through each one and expand upon it, because I want to have a very deep dive into these so that we understand at home, that you guys understand how exactly to apply this to your life and not to have any bottlenecks in the process. Because once I send you all on your own and you're off and you're doing the work, you're answering these 6 questions, there's going to be things that you stop. And you're going to have to, 1, really have the discernment between the ego and the self. And number 2, you're going to have to really get good at asking yourself the question. You have to get good at asking what the question is. Have you ever been doing homework with your children, and your children are trying to go real fast through the homework? They're not even stopping, and they're not even actually listening to what the question is asking them in the first place. How many parents out there have gone through that, right?
Yeah.
Your kids don't like homework. Like, that's obvious. Like, unless you're, my daughter, she's kind of a nerd, so she likes the homework a little bit because she wants to be like short. She wants to show her teacher how smart she is, really. So she'll go through it, but she wants to do it so well that she actually will just like go through and get the answer, but it might be similar to the right answer, but it wasn't the answer the question was calling for. So getting good at asking the right questions then gets you to precise answers. So you have to have 2 prerequisites to this: ego versus self separation, and the ability to be curious.
Yeah.
You have to be curious to really want to know the answers to these questions. What do you think people struggle with the most here?
Well, I think now that I've gone through this, I now agree with you that who do you want to become is the hardest part, because depending on what you're struggling with in like the stressful situation, you have to, and you called it out at the very beginning, but I want to make sure everyone heard, you have to have the self-awareness of yourself first to answer that question. Because if you don't have that first, then you're not going to go through the steps, because you don't know who you want to become, because you don't know who you are. Right.
Emotional intelligence is what you're talking about.
Yes.
The ability to, emotional intelligence has 2 parts. Part 1 is understanding yourself. Who am I? What do I believe in? What do I stand for? What are my core values? What am I willing to stand on the hill and die for? The other part of that is knowing how you, the self, fits in with society and knowing yourself in context to other people. There's another book. I know I've given you the work by Byron Katie in this podcast, but there's also another one that I've read many, many, many times. Tricia, I believe you've read this one as well, called Emotional Intelligence 2.0. Chelsea, if you want to pull up Emotional Intelligence 2.0 and just pull up the cover so people can see what I'm talking about here. This is a Wall Street Journal bestseller. Bradbury and Greaves, I believe is his last name, Dr. Gene Greaves and Dr. Travis Bradbury, the co-founders of Talent Smart, have sold over 2 million copies of this book, Emotional Intelligence 2.0, that discusses EQ versus IQ, that you And by the way, IQ is fixed. You're kind of born with how good you are at solving problems. EQ is a skill. What we're talking about is a skill. It's something you can get better at. You're eventually going to be doing the work, these 6 questions, like I said, just by thought alone. What I've noticed that people get tripped up on is answering the question is it even true?
Yeah.
Is it even true? Because in your example, Trisha, what we talked about was what's stopping you is what your self-examination said was that what's stopping me from being the mom who does it all. What's stopping me from that is not being able to pour into my friends the way I should.
Mm-hmm.
This is where questioning comes into play, and you'll get better at this over time as you're practicing it. Was that spot on, or was that one deviation away from what's stopping you? So if we have to ask the question, is that even true? Because is it what you should be doing for your friends? Is that a true statement? Or is it even true that you should?
Mm-hmm.
Should you go out to dinner? Should you put on the mask? Should you do the performance? Should you masquerade? Is that even true? Ooh, that's a deeper question now.
Yeah.
Now we're asking, am I being honest with myself?
Yeah.
So the real question was, what's stopping you was, I can't pour into my friends the way I'm perceiving, or my ego is perceiving that I should pour into my friends. Is that even true? No, because it's honesty with myself first, and the confidence in myself to be able, and the reassurance that the person I'm talking to on the other side is an actual friend.
Yeah.
That when I tell them exactly what's on my mind and what's meaningful to me and not meaningful to me in context of our relationship, that I won't lose love over that, that they'll actually love more. So it was honesty when we examined you. So that's the part I find that's hardest for most people, is to answer the question, is it even true? That's why you have that word even in there.
Yeah.
Not is it true? Is it even true? Like, it's almost like saying, are you even starting from the right premise here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But if you don't have the self-awareness or the emotional intelligence, I think that would be hard. Because, I mean, I'm still working through that. And this was a practice. I'm glad I went through it with you, because it's nice to have someone that knows me to, like, also be in my head too, because I could have told myself a different story to get through this a little bit like, just to not make myself feel like, oh, at the end of the day, it's just because I don't want to go out to dinner. Like, that's really what it is. It's not that I don't want to hang out with her. So I just don't want to go to dinner. And that's kind of sounds silly, but it's the truth, because I just wanted to stay home.
I get it. I see you putting in work. I don't want to do dinners either. People invite me out for lunches and meetings. I'll meet you here. I'll take you to dinner. I'll do this. They want to wine and dine me, and I get it. It's not that I don't want to have relationships.
Yeah.
It's just that the relationships that matter most to me are going to suffer if it's my family first. It's my family first. And if I'm constantly out at dinners because my friends want to go to dinners, then am I being true to myself? And the answer is no. So instead of saying that it was me not wanting to go out to dinners or things like that, I just said, you know what? How can I actually, like, what would I change here? Because I've gone through this. I went through this, the same thing that you're going through probably 4 or 5 years ago, when I was getting bombarded by people wanting to have my time.
Yeah.
And then I just started one simple change, right? Once I knew myself, hey, you know what? I'm not really somebody that enjoys going out to dinner. You know, I value health, and, like, I don't want to be out late, and I have some things to do with my children at home tonight, and I value that time. But I'll be at the gym Monday through Friday at noon, and I'm happy to meet you for a workout at noon and spend as much time with you during that 45 minutes as we can. In fact, that 45 minutes is all for you. Let's just work out together.
Yeah.
And if you want to meet me, and you really do, come to the workout, right? And now it's on my terms. And if this person really wants to meet me, they'll show up. And guess how many people show up? Like 1 out of 20. Because they didn't really want a relationship in the first place. I'm not suggesting this is your story about your friend, but what they wanted from me was business. And they weren't willing to come to Burn and do the hard work. I rarely do business with third parties that don't come to camp first anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to get on my good side, come sweat it out with me. I'll learn all I need to learn about you in the 45 minutes at camp when you're sweating it out right next to me. Whether you've never worked out a day in your life and you show up and you try your hardest and you have a positive attitude, or you work out all the time and you come in, with humility and no ego and dishing out high fives to and encouraging people, I'll know more about you in 45 minutes than I will at a dinner anyhow. So I've went through this before, and that was my reality in my life. If I just change this behavior of saying no all the time, it's like when I stopped drinking, I didn't say, you know what, I'm just not going to drink today,
Mm-hmm.
right? I just said, I don't drink. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And people leave you alone. They don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They really don't care. I don't drink. Rather than, I don't feel like having one today. Then they're like, come on, man. What about today is so special? Can't you just have a couple with me?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't drink. So it's the same thing. I don't do dinner dates.
Yeah.
I don't do lunches. That's just not part of who I am. It's not part of what makes me productive and happy. But I value your relationship. You can meet me here.
Yeah.
Interesting, isn't it?
It's so interesting because it seems so simple now that we've gone through it, but you have to go through it to really pull it out. Otherwise, it's bigger and it's stressful.
So you have to get good at the art of separation, ego and self, and then you have to get good at questions.
Yeah.
This is often, we're going to do a little exercise here, okay? This might be a hard one, but we have a few minutes here before we take everybody out. And I wanted to do something to help you guys get better at asking questions, because if you're looking for the answers in life, the answers are through the best questions. Ask bad questions, get bad answers.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your statement to question ratio as a human being. I want you to take a quick inventory of that right now in your head. Take like 20, 30 seconds. Close your eyes unless you're driving. Think about your daily interactions. The part of self-awareness is understanding yourself, how you communicate with other people, being able to play the tape back, use your memory for what the great Lord gave it to us for, which is to recall and then get better in the future, to play back tape, find mistakes, and then get better in the future, not to be defined by your memory, but to use your memory to inform your momentum. I want you to close your eyes. I want you to ask yourself, play back your most recent relationship, your conversation that you had with somebody. Most of the time, the ones that stick out to you are like arguments. How many statements did you say versus how many questions did you ask? You want to talk about a skill that you can use to get immediately better in all aspects of life right now? Questions. How do I take our trainers who traditionally this industry said, hey, you can't take 40 people, put them in one room and have a personal training environment. And I said, yes, you can. And they said, how? Because I ask really good questions. That's how. You trust me? Prove it. What's your name again? Do you trust me? Can you pick up that weight? Prove it to me. Are you willing to prove it to me?
Mm-hmm.
There is power and speed to being really good at questions. So we're going to do a little exercise. You want to do one?
Sure.
All right. It's called the question burst exercise. So practice this, people. If you're serious about getting better, if you're serious about becoming a higher EQ person, okay, emotional intelligence, if you find room for that in your life to get better, then I want you to practice this question bursting exercise. Here's the premise. You can only have a conversation with one other person under the rule that you can no longer say statements in this conversation. The conversation must progress along, stay on one track, but you cannot say statements. Watch how difficult this is. I'm going to put you on the spot, okay, Trisha? Watch how difficult this is. All right, it gets easier as you practice it. Find somebody in your life who wants to get emotionally intelligent with you, your business partner, your spouse, your oldest child, all your children. Practice question bursting with them, okay? We're going to take the topic of going to camp today.
Okay.
Trisha, are you going to camp today?
I have to answer in a question, right?
It just has to end in a question.
Jeez Louise. No. Why?
Don't I go to camp every day?
Do you go to camp every day?
Do you think that I go to camp every day based on your observations?
Why wouldn't you go to camp every day?
You have to keep it progressing forward. So you have to, so I have to say based on the observations, and you have to actually answer you can't just keep saying why.
It's the easy way out, though, Devin.
That's one tricky rule. You have to progress. Here's a little hack. You can say a statement and followed by a question as well.
Oh, okay.
Okay. You
Okay.
can have a comma in your sentence. How about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Say your question again.
Okay. Trish, you going to camp today?
Oh, we're starting at the beginning.
Yeah. It's difficult, isn't it?
It is so difficult.
Okay.
Um.
Me and you we're gonna practice this off air. We're gonna go for 20 straight minutes.
Oh my
Okay.
gosh. No, should I go to camp today?
Shouldn't you always do what's best for your health? Is going to camp best for your health?
Yes, but today is like my rest day, so I wasn't gonna go to camp. But now you're making I'm trying to make this into a question.
Keep going.
But now you're making me think that I should go to camp. Maybe.
Is it okay? No, you're doing great. You're doing great. This is how most people will start. I love that you're doing this. We're all growing real time right now.
I think producer
right,
Chelsea
here
just
you go.
helped me out.
Isn't recovery important?
Yes, it is important, and I thank you for.
It's a very
Oh
difficult...
my gosh, I'm on the spot.
Okay,
and
so watch this. Okay, watch this. Ready? Do you want to try, Chelsea?
Sure.
Do we got a
can try.
camera on producer Chelsea today?
No, not today. It's
Okay.
though.
All right. Then just bring the camera to me, Jordan. I'm gonna give you 3 seconds. If not, I'm gonna fill it in. Okay, we're gonna do a quick one. All right, Chelsea, you going to camp today?
Yes. Are you going to camp today?
I am going to camp today. Are you excited for camp today?
I am excited for camp today.
Why are you excited?
Because I'm going to try to hit a PR on chest press. Are you?
Why is PR important to you?
Because I'm trying to progress and get stronger, which is important. Isn't it important to you?
Yes, it is because of my children in my life. Why is strength important to you?
Because I also have children in my life and I want to be able to show them that strong is important.
Got to keep it progressing now. Keep it going. You just said that. Now go again. You got it. Add something to it. And we're stuck at 4.
We're stuck.
You did a great job.
That was really good. Hey, now we got to go to like 20, 30, a 10-minute conversation.
gosh.
Yeah. Okay? You want to get really good at knowing yourself, knowing other people. Here's one key element. Don't be interesting, be interested. Don't try to be cool. Don't try to be smart. Don't try to be the one. Don't try to be, as the kids say now, don't try to be him or her.
Yeah.
Right? You know how they say, I'm him.
I'm him.
I'm him.
Oh yeah.
Right? Ask questions. Questions are so potent. Question bursting is something you can do with your spouse. Try to go 20 questions deep. And if you can get to the point where you don't have any precursor statements and it's pure question asking for 20 straight, you know that you got it. You want to try one more time, Trisha, or you want to move on?
Are we having the same question?
No, we can do a different question.
I feel like normally my answer to going to camp is yes, but I'm not going today, and that's weird for me.
Okay, all right. We'll bring it back to the context in which we have in the 6 questions and the work of the podcast, okay, today? All right. So what did you learn from going through the work today for 6 questions? What did you learn?
I learned that you need to be honest with yourself first and foremost, and you can't try and be inauthentic because you're always going to be able to pull that out. What did you learn about me?
That's good. Can I help you with that? Can I help you reframe that? It's just to give people at home an idea of what I'm talking
Is it
about.
part of the
you
thing?
did good. You ended with a question. You said statement and you went to question. A better way would be, what should I have learned?
Okay.
Did you read question 3?
Question 3.
Which is it even true?
Is it even-
Did you read question 3?
I did read question 3. Why do you think I didn't?
I don't think that you did not. I was asking if you did because I wanted to know, was what you thought was true, was it even true?
Yeah, it wasn't true. How did you know that it wasn't true?
How do you think that I know that it wasn't true?
because of the way that you responded after I had mentioned what I thought was even true, you backtracked and took me through the actual process of what I was thinking. So the whole time, did you know that I knew it wasn't true?
Did you notice the difference between what you thought was true was was actually an experience, and what actually was true was a character trait? You thought it was just the dinners.
Mm-hmm.
It's never the experience. It was the habit. It was the character trait. It was the honesty that you weren't having with the people in your life that I believe, answer me if I'm correct, that you now have, correct?
I do, but could I have gotten to that sooner? Or is
Could you have gotten to that on your own, do you think?
No, I don't think I could have without this. And that I'm assuming that's why this question is where it sits in the ranking.
You're already doing way better. You see that?
Yeah.
You have this approach of curiosity on everything, and every word, every statement you try to say is, even if it is a statement, it's rephrased in a question. And this is what you need to get good at because curiosity is a prerequisite to knowing thyself.
Yeah.
You have to be able to ask great questions to get great answers. So we won't keep going through that. But for example, if you hear Morgan and I do this, Morgan and I are so good at this.
I actually kind of want to be a fly on the wall when you and Morgan are doing this.
Oh, we're so good at it. We can just go bam, 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 back and forth because we've had a lot of practice, because we used to have this thing where we would disagree with each other in front of other people.
Mm-hmm.
We would disagree with one another, mostly in a business context, in front of other people. And that's never a good thing to do, is to look misaligned in front of other people, right? You can be misaligned behind the scenes, and you can talk it out behind the scenes privately. But to say, hey, no, I think you're wrong, or for her to directly contradict something I said in an important meeting, or vice versa, that would be a problem, right? That'd be a problem, because then you're not showing a unified front, especially if you're at a negotiating table. So what we had to do is we were showing our cards at the negotiation table sometimes by disagreeing with each other, right? Oh, what's important to her isn't important to him. Oh, there's the wedge. And now we can get in there and negotiate with this, one thing. So what we had to do is say, hey, more in a setting, hey, so what do you think about that? I don't know. What do you think? Don't you think this is probably right? Yeah, I probably think that's right. What do you think? Right? And it's just this, if you're not certain, you're asking each other questions, and you're getting to certainty, and you're getting to alignment. So you have to get to certainty with yourself, everyone. That's what we're saying here, okay? So these are the 6 questions. This is the work inspired by Katie Byron. You can go read the book. In my opinion, I would rather you just listen to this podcast over and over and over and over and over. Read the book as a supplement. But I think we take the work and we stand on the shoulders of Katie Byron and her amazing literature that she put out that really helps you navigate the self through the spirit. And we just added a couple extra little nuances, like the projection of pain, question number 5, and then small doable commitments in question number 6 that are going to actually, kind of let the rubber hit the road so you can gain some traction in your life. Okay. So listen, confidence doesn't just show up, and tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, I'm here. You actually have to go do the work. It's built one question at a time. Who do you want to become? What's stopping you? Is that even true? Who would you already be? Right? Who would you be if this wasn't true forever? And then what can you go do about it? Okay. We pray because we know things, but we meditate on and we ponder on questions like this because we don't know things. And we keep practicing until this confidence isn't just something that you're chasing. It's something that actually is. It becomes a part of you. And the way you get good at that is asking yourself really good questions. And that's all we have for today. Trish, any last words?
No, I really hope you listen to this. And if you have any questions, get into this guy's DMs because he's a master at mindset.
We got to do it, people. Hit me up, DM me. I spend about an hour every day answering as many of you as I can. And I'll do some little selfie videos while I answer your questions live, but also just privately is 90% of them. So if this episode hit home, share it with someone who needs a reminder that your connection to yourself is progress. Doing the work is a process. Okay. And not just something that shows up. You don't just show up and you don't just get confidence. Share it with somebody next time you are in the gym. Celebrate that win. Okay, share the podcast. Say, hey, the Burn Boot Camp, they got a podcast. DK and Trisha go twice a week, and they're killing it. So I enjoy it. You should enjoy it too. And then you hit the little share button, and you share it with them, and life is all good, and we're all happy after that. Make sense? Say yes?
Yes.
2 claps on 2. 1, 2.